We are live. Hi everyone, welcome to another Teach Me session. I am Adina, founder at Social Insider, and my guest for today is Amanda Webb. Hi Amanda, welcome.
Hey, hello.
Amanda Webb is a digital marketing ROI mentor, trainer, and consultant. She is working with service-based businesses and organizations to develop ROI-driven digital marketing strategy, which is a perfect match for the subject that we have for today. Because we are going to teach everything you need to know about social media ROI and how to calculate it, the definition of social media ROI, the mistakes that sometimes you are doing when calculating this metric, and um, other stuff about this. Uh, so, um, how are you, Amanda? Ready to
I'm
share
good.
everything?
Yes, I'm always love talking. This is obviously the thing that I talk about the most, as your introduction suggested. So I'm always excited to share knowledge about that.
Yeah. So I think I saw a webinar that you did with Agora Pulse in this summer about something about social media ROI and tracking and how
Yeah, and
to
how that
create content,
exactly. Yeah,
based on data. So that's why I actually it was an interesting uh, webinar that you did for them, and that's why I invited here today.
thank you.
uh, Good. So, Amanda, what is social media ROI?
It's that is the big question, isn't it? And I think, when you're talking about social media, very often people don't think about ROI as much as they do for like kind of their website, which they think about. But it is really important. So basically, it is what it says on the tin. ROI stands for return on investment. So from your social media, are you getting any return? And that does mean money. By the way, it doesn't mean, oh, well, I got this many subscribers to my email list. It is, you can calculate ROI based on that, like what your social media contributed to the people on your email list that then converted into sales, but you need to do it that granularly. And then, compared to the amount of money that and time and energy that you spend on your social media. And I think the benefit of knowing this is that you know that you're not wasting your time. And for those of you that are working for companies, it's a way for you to prove that the money that they're paying you to manage their social accounts is actually worthwhile.
We did a study at the beginning of this year, the life of a social media manager, and 41% are struggling with measuring the social media ROI. So I think it's a challenge for everyone, both for people who are working in a specific agency or on a brand. So most of the time maybe they don't know how to evaluate the effort, they don't know how to evaluate the time. If we are speaking about consultants or freelancers, they don't know how to price their time when they should calculate the return of the return of investment. um, how they can start to measure the social media ROI? Where they should begin?
I suppose actually from what you just said, the first thing they need to do is talk to the people that they're working for and make sure they have
Mhm.
access to everything. So we're going to later on, I think we're going to talk about analytics a bit, but you can't just kind of like magic this stuff off from the social accounts themselves. You have to like be able to follow the whole trail and know what their conversion rate is on their website. And there's all sorts of pieces you need to set up with your client if you are working with a client. If it's your own business like me, you have to work that out for yourself. You have to work out, how many website visits, how many people, maybe they don't even visit your website. So we'll talk about that. The next stage then is knowing what you're spending. So are you using a social media scheduling tool? Are you using a social media evaluation tool, something like Social Insider? Are you, what other tools are you using? Canva. I
Mhm.
mean, everyone uses
Yeah.
Canva, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure everyone uses Canva. Are you
Yeah.
buying stock images? Are you outsourcing any of your work? So maybe you're a social media manager, but you're outsourcing your graphics, or maybe you're outsourcing video. Are you doing any training? I think particularly if you're a social media manager, that fits into that as well. And you need to think about all those costs as part of your social media cost. So how much is that costing, or how much is it costing the company if they're providing some of those tools as well? That's the first thing to look at. The second thing to look at is actually the overall business expenses as well, because for a small business like mine, I will calculate that by how much time I spend on something. So for example, as you know, I do a live show every Friday called The Digital Coffee. That takes me 6 hours a week out of my week. That is 15% of my week. So I need to charge 15% of my business overheads that aren't involved, that aren't accounted for in other activities. Things like heating, simple, or the cost of my computer, I need to add that into my expenses. And then the third bit that nobody ever thinks of, which is time. So the amount of time that you're spending is important. We've all done it. We've told a client that you're going to work on their account for 1 hour, and you end up working 3 or 4 hours. Now you're still charging your client 1 hour. So you need to account for your own time and think about how much you're charging for that. As a small business like me, I have to set, it's very easy for me to go, well, it's my time and it's my business, so it's not worth anything. But it still is, because that's time I could be spending doing something else that's maybe delivering more ROI. So you have to set yourself for your own business an hourly rate as well. That can be lower than what you charge your clients, but you still need to track that. Then you bring that all together and it will probably work out to be way more expensive than you thought in the first place. So that's your starting point. What you're making, the revenue, the return is a little bit easier, because you're able, hopefully, if you get all the right access, you're able to track how much of an effect that your social media is having on the overall sales from the business. So that one's a little bit easier, particularly if you're running ads as well, because it's easy to measure the direct results from that. A little bit harder for service businesses, very easy for B2C or e-commerce.
And especially if you are an organic specialist, it's even more difficult to know how much time do you need to get content ideas, for example. How much time do you need for research before creating a content plan? So it's not easy to define how much you have to spend when you calculate this. So you said that if you have to, let's say, split it into some steps when we calculate the social media ROI. So it's important to know how much, what are the spends, the time, the resources, the technology, because sometimes you need Canva, you need tools, you need a new computer maybe, and all of this should be on your Excel or wherever you gather this information. What we should go first? What we should go next for calculating the social media ROI?
So once you've gathered that information together, and make sure you have everything, it's quite comprehensive. There is a formula for ROI. So sorry if I'm going to melt people with formulas. Like when I try reading this out, it doesn't look half as good as it does on the page, but let's try. Okay. So you take the smaller number, which is the amount of money that you make. It should be smaller. No, that's yes, no, I've got that wrong. You take the amount of money that you're going to make, you divide it, you minus the investment, the amount of money. So that gives you a nice small number. That's the small number. So your return, your profits, your turnover minus your investment, and then divide that by 100. That gives you a percentage then of your, I missed the phase. See, I told you I was really bad at reading this out. Like, let's start again, everyone. Right, you take your return, which is the amount of money that you've taken in. You minus your investment, which is the amount of money that you spent. I missed the important bit. You divide it by your investment. That's the important bit. Otherwise, you're just stuck with one tiny figure. And then you multiply it by 100, which gives you a percentage. I'm really bad at doing maths when I'm in front of people.
Don't worry, you are not the only one who
Once
find
you've got
difficult
that,
to.
you could be quite shocked, or you could be really happy. But either way, that gives you a percentage. And the reason it's a percentage is because, your investment could go up with the anticipation that means your revenue is going to go up, but that doesn't happen. So it's the percentage that actually changes. So it makes it a lot easier for you to track over time.
True. So we have this formula. Let's say, how can we calculate the engagement rate for the social media ROI for engagement, for example? Because most of the time people have to track based on their objectives. And when we are speaking about the objective on social media, we have engagement, we have traffic, we have sales, I don't know, leads generated, sign-ups, conversion, or maybe revenue generated in general. But let's take a concrete use case for people who have to measure, who have to have engagement as an objective. How can they calculate the engagement, the social media ROI for this metric?
So it sounds like something you couldn't calculate, right? But this is
Yeah.
the importance of being able to connect with the rest of the business. So, you need to start tracking back. So you would start with, where does the sale actually happen? You're really lucky if it happens on social media. Like I say, if you're using shopping, or if somebody just direct messages you and that's the end of your sales process, that's really lucky, but that's rarely happens. So you have to look at where the sale finishes, and then how much social traffic is getting in, say, to the website, and how many of that social traffic is converting into a sale. So that gives you an idea of that. Now, again, there's really complicated attribution models here. I don't want to melt you more than my stupid formula did. But you be looking at your first touch attribution. Basically, the social media has contributed to that sale. So then you need to work back from that. So how much does engagement affect website traffic? So if you get more engagement, does that have a knock-on effect on website traffic? And then that's where you can say, right, this number of engagements gets this much website traffic, which converts to this many sales. So it's not the whole, it doesn't get the whole amount of the sale, but you can see how much it is contributing to the sale. And that's what you really need to do. So you work back from the end all the way down the method. So you can even bring that back to like followers. I know people think followers aren't important. Of course they're important, because if nobody follows you, then you can't engage anyone, you can't send them to your website, and you can't sell. So again, you can see how many followers it takes to get an engagement, to get so you can work that process all the way through.
Yeah. And of course, every time you see a spike in engagement on social media, you'll see a spike in an increase in traffic. So you can correlate this way. We have Anna with us. So Anna, she was wondering which are the factors that determine the decreasing of social media ROI.
So that's a really good question. And you can, once that model I just gave to you, you can get carried away working on the wrong things. So you might go, well, actually, like you said, when you see a spike in engagement, I should see a spike in website visits. So because you've been told that you need to focus on engagement, you will do everything to get engagement, like maybe posting something that isn't relevant to your business. So like, I know I don't do it. I'm very tempted that if I post a picture of one of my cats, I do try and get them in the background of my shots. I will get more engagement every single time, right? But is anyone visiting my website as a case of that? No. So that's a problem with the model. It's the same with followers. Followers are important as long as they're the right followers. So that's the value of kind of your percentage as well, because your engagement would go through the roof, but nothing else is changing. So, that investment would be wrong. So does that make sense?
It totally makes
sense. Was there a second part of that question? Sorry, glasses, vain person who doesn't want to wear glasses.
I totally agree with you, because always it's important to write content and messaging on social media based on what's in it for them, for your audience, and not what delivers a higher engagement rate for you. you mentioned in the beginning about Google Analytics and why social media managers should have access to specific tools before measuring the social media ROI. So I know that there are some, I don't know how to say it. There are some tools you have to install on your website to get data from social media, for example, pixel data, and about the UTMs that everyone should include it when they promoting links on social media. Can we measure social media ROI without this, without the UTMs and
Yeah, I mean,
pixels on our website?
you can, but not accurately. So you can guesstimate, but you can't do it accurately. I think in the past, I mean, Facebook used to have its own analytics tool, if you remember, very similar to Google Analytics. It kind of, nobody was ever using it. And then it went away. I think it went away because they were aware of privacy coming down the line, But, the Facebook pixel, the Twitter pixel, Pinterest, all the pixels, all the social pixels used to be really good at finding out what was going on, particularly for paid. So the pixel was actually measuring traffic for everything. And that's where the Facebook analytics tool was really great. But then, of course, Apple launched their privacy update and everything went wrong. So Facebook and the other social networks, you mustn't think it was only Facebook who are affected by this. They are all suffering. I saw that Snapchat are laying people off. It has affected all these networks. They had to scramble to put some sort of model in place so that they could still measure the results of their ads. So that was the bit we hear about, is the fact that it's hard to target people. We don't really see how it's affecting the reporting. But of course, if the pixel isn't going to track a lot of people, it has to kind of guess what's happening. And, the AI is there. It's almost a year now, is it? Maybe a little bit longer since that update came in. And the AI is quite good at making judgments based on historic data on how your ads are doing, but it's not brilliant anymore. It's not accurate. I mean, but always Google Analytics and Facebook would give you different answers anyway. So you do need to understand Google Analytics. And really annoyingly now is, if you already understand Google Analytics, now you have to understand the new Google Analytics, Google Analytics 4. Definitely, if you haven't already, I did a really good quick intro course on LinkedIn to Google Analytics 4, and I found it really helpful. Obviously, I've done several courses since, and I've been really delving into it, but that would give you your basics. Then your UTM tracking, which people may not know what that is. If you're running ads on Facebook, you may have seen it when you're setting up the ad. It offers you to put in UTM parameters. And all this is adding some bits at the end of the link that you're driving people to that tell Google Analytics or analytics platforms where that traffic came from. So that's basically, you would tell it that it's, and keep mentioning Facebook, it could be it's Facebook or it's Instagram, it's Facebook, and that the medium that it's coming from is social, and that the campaign, so it could be the name of the specific ad campaign, or if you set it up within Facebook, it's really handy because it will identify each individual ad that traffic's coming from. So when you do that, you can attribute it down to the individual ad, or if you set them up yourself, to the individual social media post that was driving that traffic. So at the other end, you're not just seeing that traffic's coming from Facebook. You can see that this post, one that people clicked, and it came from a Facebook group. You could find that out, or you could find that it came from a story rather than coming from the feed. All of that obviously is really great information to have. So, and that's just scratching the surface of what you can do with UTMs. I really am in love with them. So it sounds complicated, but it doesn't have to be. There are tools that can help you create them.
Yeah, and about this is another question that I have. Google offers you a tool where you can create these UTMs, but also there is Bitly, for example, who can helps you with these UTMs codes, and then it gives you a shortened link. So what's your recommendation here? Should we stick with the one from Google, or can we use the Bitly and we get the same results in Google Analytics?
In analytics, you're probably going to see, I haven't tried creating with Bitly, so I can't see are they creating them correctly, which would be my bugbear at the moment. The downside, I think, with Bitly is that when people see a Bitly link, they don't know where they're going, and they could have had bad experiences with clicking them before. It's just a perception thing. A lot of people might not, but a lot of people, including myself, would be a little bit. So I create my UTMs. Again, I'm going to have to put my glasses on. One day I'll get over my vanity, right? I use a tool called Google Analytics UTM Builder. It's a Chrome extension. So I can actually, it makes it really easy for me to set them up for any web page within that tool. So that makes it easy. And then I use for link shortening. If I want to shorten the link, I have a WordPress site. So this is kind of dependent on that and you having access to that site. I use a tool called Pretty Links. So I can shorten it and it can still be my website, spiderworking.com/whatever I want it to be, which just makes it look a little bit more trustworthy, I think, than a Bitly link. Now, somebody at Bitly can come along and tell me I'm 100% wrong. It's just my feeling about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Can you tell us some mistakes that social media professionals are doing when calculating the ROI?
So one mistake that you might instantly go and make after watching me talk about this is suddenly realize, oh, I need to get more ROI, and suddenly just post loads of sales posts. I'm just going to say that. We all know that's a bad idea, right? Because nobody wants to follow a page or engage with a page, and then all they see is people them selling their stuff. So that's the first thing, is you can focus way too much on the ROI. So you do need to have a balanced strategy. You need to look at those things we looked at earlier, which is like growing your audience, engaging your audience before you try and sell to them, having a balance along those lines. Not keeping an eye on that percentage, because like I say, you could go and focus in on one area with the goal of improving your ROI. And because you haven't worked out the percentage, you might be spending less, but actually your revenue's gone way down, or you might be spending more. It's the percentage is what makes the difference. So following that, really, I will come over to LinkedIn and I will put it in the comments when we finish. Having that percentage right is really important. Ignoring ROI. So that's something else. It's like, oh, well, that would be a nice thing to have. If you are a social media manager, this is gold for you, because if you can improve your ROI, you can charge way more money. So that's good as well. And I guess if you're working, this is going to be the complicated bit, because so many businesses aren't like up to speed with their measurement at all at the moment. So when you start going in and saying, right, I want to have access to analytics and tag manager, and there's all sorts of really cool tools, and I want to know, they'll think, well, they're my business secrets. Why do I want to tell my social media manager there? So that, it's not always going to be your fault when you can't prove ROI. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think another mistake here is that you should make sure that the Google Analytics is correctly installed on your website, because sometimes maybe the tracking isn't that good, and maybe there are some visits or website sessions aren't registered. So you cannot see the whole customer journey from the people who are reading something on social media and then go to a specific page. So I think there is a mix. So I think the social media managers should speak with other teams, the people who are responsible for Google Analytics, and maybe this is part of the dev team, or people who are responsible for the web development, and make sure that everything is in place and it's working, it's registering the right metrics. Of course, there are some other specific things that you should know, that you can remove your traffic the traffic registered from your IP or from your computer. So if you are doing some tests, you can remove those tests from the customer journey. And
Sales team as well, I think you need to
yeah,
talk to, because you could be getting loads of people to go over to the website to fill in the quotation form. If they're not converting, then that's
yeah,
obviously, you need to like make friends with sales, because I think traditionally sales and marketing have been a bit
yeah. They are not friends.
but you should be, right? Because your goal
Yeah,
is exactly the same. You need to deliver them the leads so that they can sell to them. So you need to talk to them about what is a good lead and look at where
yeah.
your strongest leads are coming from and which ones are actually converting, which again is so much easier on e-commerce. But I like doing service-based businesses. I like that whole process. I don't know why.
Yeah. So it's important to know those attributes from the sales team that are considered as a qualified lead. It's not easy. I'm pretty sure that it's not easy to calculate the ROI from social media, especially when you have objective like, as I said, reach, engagement, followers growth, as you said. So it's complicated when you don't have uh, when you have to cherry pick the data from the different data sources. Another question here that we have is, how do you know if your ROI is good? What percentage of ROI is good for your business?
Well, ROI, the overall ROI should be taken into account everything. So anything that is positive ROI is good, right? I mean, it is a difficult question. Obviously, the more that you're getting, the more profitable the company is, the more it has to invest in other stuff. So that's good. So, but like any percentage, I would be looking for over 1%, but at least if you're getting 1% and you counted in all the costs, you know that you're not losing money. But that's probably not why people are in business, to be honest. So maybe you're looking for 20%. I think I'd be happy with a 20% ROI. That would be good. But there is, I mean, anything over a negative amount is good. And actually, that's where it can get a bit scary, because when you do that initial calculation, you may find out it is a negative amount. And then you need to go back and look at what's wrong. Where am I spending money where I shouldn't? Or where aren't I making money where I shouldn't? Why, that's the problem. And a lot of businesses will be there for a few years when they're setting up as well,
Yeah. And I think it's okay to be there, especially when you're at the beginning of your journey, maybe starting as a freelancer or starting with a new job position. It's fine to have maybe a negative ROI at the beginning, to understand, to know how to evaluate your efforts. And then once you are learning and working with other teams and make sure that everything works perfectly, and everyone have the same look at the same metrics when the sales and the social media teams. Step by step you will see an improvement in your social media ROI. So
if you're starting on a negative, I'm not going to say it could get worse, because it could get more negative. But like, at least once you're measuring it, that's your benchmark where you are now. You're always looking to improve on that. So your goal then could be to get into positive ROI.
Yeah. Good. Thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing all this information. And
thank you for having me.
And for giving us the definition and the way we should calculate the social media ROI. Where people can find you?
So I am spider working everywhere. If you're watching on LinkedIn, please connect with me here. This is where I share most of my stuff. So anything about ROI or any business tips or advice, this is where you find it. Just let me know when you connect with me that this is where you came from. And if you message me, I will send you a little report. So, and I'll send you an audit checklist. That's what I will send you. No email required. Just direct message me. I will send that to you.
Wow! I will announce all our database to send you an email with to send you a LinkedIn invite, and
if you come through LinkedIn and message me, I'll send it. And you can decide if you want to sign up for my email later.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for joining us today. and see you in 2 weeks. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.